Hi everyone. In this module, we'll talk about what it means to be a data engineer and specifically talk about the mindset of a data engineer. As part of that, we'll cover some of the principles associated with that. We'll start discussing in terms of what it means to think in a particular fashion and a style in order to make your business successful for your stakeholders. Also, to make sure that you're being efficient in terms of how you process data. One thing I've learned is given all this information, it's really hard to think of all those steps all the time for every use case. The best way to do that is to internalize it. And then over time, it just gets easy. All right, see you then.
So what is the data engineering mindset? That is really dependent on the type of outcome that you want at your company. So for instance, it depends on what the KPIs are or key performance indicators are, what is the end user looking for is kind of how you would want to think about it. So it is more like, okay, I have some customers who want to use this data. I'm a data engineer. I'm producing this data. This data is the product, is the asset that they're going to leverage in order to get what they want. But how do I produce the data that is going to be useful for them? That is what a data engineer does. When you think about it as the raw data that is coming in from various systems, maybe telemetry information, it could be a workflow of an end user doing something with it. And it could be like numerous kinds of applications where you can actually mark certain sets of part of the flow as important indicators in terms of whether the user is having a good experience, getting what they want, the end user who's actually paying you money. That is one important aspect of, okay, are we capturing the right information needed to produce the data product that the end users, in this case, internal users, analysts, or data scientists may need, or a reporting interface or an insights interface to the same customer who's actually using the product, or it could be some other customer. So it could be something like a business to consumer, consumer to business, or it could be business to business also. So as a data engineer, you're always standing in the middle and you're trying to figure out, there's one guy on one side of you who's basically wanting the end polished data product that they could use for their purposes. And for different customers like that, like data scientists might need a different set of data, a training data for a particular type of model, for instance, or they're looking for some kind of an indicator in terms of whether they should even get into building that model in the first place. Or it could be product managers deciding, oh, this is really what I want to do in order to see whether this particular application is really performing the way I want to. So they could look at certain key performance indicators related with how many users are coming into their application. It could be, okay, are these users consistent? Are they spending enough? Or are they actually using what they're supposed to be using? Maybe the design is not right. So this is indicators where, okay, I think it's time to refurbish the website. Or it could be like, oh, they're getting wrong information and not going according to the flow that we expect. It could be various other things, right? So you as someone in the middle is the data engineer. You're satisfying your end customers, which are data scientists or data analysts or even other businesses, providing the insights, the polished insights. But you are also trying to figure out and walk backwards and see, in order to get that polished data set, what do I have to do here in order to make sure that I'm capturing the right information? And sometimes that is beyond your role in terms of what gets captured and how that gets captured, especially how that gets captured. But you have a say with your product managers or those stakeholders who are actually building the front end side of the application, or maybe even the server side of the application, to say exactly what you want to pull from there and what is meaningful and what is not. So that's a fine line you have to play. Like sometimes you don't want to just grab all the data that's possible, because if you're not actually using most of that information, then there's a cost associated with it in terms of storage, in terms of compute, and that adds up to the bottom line of the company. So you're actually being a good data citizen, a good steward on that.